Hello, my name is Carol Verheecke-Vaessen and I'm a lecturer at Cranfield University. I had the opportunity to discover Anna Dimitriou's work in bioart during an exposition in the History of Science Museum in Oxford, and I am presenting Anna today.
Hi, I'm Anna Dimitriou, and as Carol said, I work with bioart, which is art made with living materials. I also incorporate a lot of non-traditional and traditional materials in my work as well. And we applied for a Massee Art Award from the British Mycological Society, which we were very lucky to receive. And the next step was to come to the lab. And then we started to work together.
Yeah, so in our group, we focus mainly on mycotoxins. So what are mycotoxins? Mycotoxins are chemical compounds produced by fungi that accumulate in food. And the challenge of having those is that they can lead to cancer and other diseases. This is why there is regulation put in place worldwide to minimize the exposure of these toxins. But it is not well known what are those toxins and how they can impact humans. So it's why with Anna, we collaborate together in trying to find a solution to explain to the community how these toxins can have a drastic impact on our health.
So the first thing you showed me were these beautiful coloured pigmented fusarium with these amazing reds, and we started to learn about, well, you started to explain to me about all the different mycotoxins that you study, and show me these wonderful pigments and things that they produce. And we thought about ways that we could work with the pigments, didn't we? Because I normally work with, I work a lot with pathogenic bacteria, which you can sterilize before you exhibit it, because I don't believe that art should be dangerous in any way. So I sterilize it before I exhibit it. But with the mycotoxins, which are these kind of poisons that leach out of the molds that you work with, sometimes several centimeters, like more than a centimetre into the agar that you're working with, then they're much more hard to destroy, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So the challenge with mycotoxins is that when the fungi has produced them, they are thermostable. So the process of cooking, for example, or the process of sterilization when you were doing with bacteria will not remove the toxin. And that's one of the challenges of the food industry, because then the fungi could have been dead in earlier process of the food, but the toxin will remain at the end. So this is why we started to discuss about potentially using ashes, for example. Yes.
And in the end, we also did a field trip where we went and saw one of the mycotoxins in the field, and what you can see here is this ergot on wheat. And ergot's an amazing history with mycotoxins, isn't it? Because it was places that I've actually visited as well, so I was already really interested in it. Was the Eleusis in the ancient Greek site where the Eleusinian mysteries took place, and they would drink a mythical drink called Kykeon, which was fermented from ergot, and they would have these hallucinations from it. And also at the Salem witches, it's possible that the Salem witches actually consumed ergot in rye bread that they ate, isn't it? And this is, we actually saw some ergot growing because it's the damp conditions that we now have are causing it, aren't they?
Yes, and the beauty of the ergot is that among the different fungi that we studied that produce mycotoxin, which include Aspergillus, Fusarium, Penicillium, Alternaria, and Claviceps, the ergot is produced by Claviceps, and this fungi goes inside the grain and then change completely the structure of the grain, so that after it's become very black, like we can see in the picture, and this black is called the sclerotia, and this is one of the way that we can actually see that there is mycotoxin accumulating in the grain. So it's a good opportunity to visualize the toxin, and also there is a lot of reference to, as you were saying, mycotoxin has been here for thousands of years, and they have been used in some way or another into practices just like like as you discussed, the Salem witches, or also in the Greek ancient times. Yeah,
because it's got this hallucinogenic quality, but of course you wouldn't really want to take it because it's incredibly dangerous, isn't it?
Yes.
Because it's not just that, but it also has these immune depressants, and also it's carcinogenic, isn't it?
Yeah, so you have, depending on the toxin, you have different health impact, but they all have a drastic impact on your health. This is what they are called toxins. So it's important to regulate the amount that you expose to by safety. Yes, yes.
And because I love to work with the real materials, what we ended up doing was making a series of ash drawings from the ashes from the incinerator, because you have to incinerate this stuff at 270 degrees. And then all we were left with was the actual material, but it was the ash of it. And so I made a series of ash drawings using a putty rubber into the ash, which I rubbed into drawing paper. So we can see the claviceps, the ergot, microscope images, the alternaria, the aspergillus, the fusarium, and the penicillium. And penicillium is interesting because sometimes these mycotoxins can be useful, can't they? Like with, not in this case, but the species that you work with, but penicillin itself, the antibiotic, is actually a kind of mycotoxin, isn't it?
Yes, yes, because it's all about what is the toxic effect and what is the balance. So depending how you define mycotoxins, some of them can be useful and are antibiotics, while others are so toxic then they couldn't be used as potential antibiotics. Like, for example, aflatoxin, which is the main mycotoxin known at the moment, which is produced by aspergillus, that is known to be carcinogenic for humans.
And then I also made a series. I was inspired by the marbles at the Eleusinian Mysteries when I visited them, and there seemed to be images of like the wheat with possible ergot on it in the images that I saw there. And I was inspired to talk about this history and use marble in that. So I made a series of marble carvings, and this is from my studio, a work in progress of the fusarium. And the aspergillus again carved, and various things in progress. And then we also worked with some of the pigments, didn't we? That we saw earlier, those lovely reds and different things. So
yeah, so the change that you have between bacteria and the fungi that we have is that the fungi themselves are not toxic. It's the toxin that they produce that is toxic. So we worked with the fungi and we killed them in multiple ways to be sure it's safe. And then these fungi produce colors like we showed early on in the first picture. So you were able to have some pigments that are close to red for fusarium, but you also saw some green for aspergillus and penicillium that you can use to create this drawing. And it's exactly what you've done here, and we can see on the marbles pictures that are displayed here at the moment. So that gives a kind of reality of those fungi are actually there. They've just been killed for safety.
I actually ground down the pigments and mixed them with gum arabic before I painted them on there. And I love those red pigments and the brown pigments from the fusarium. They were just gorgeous to work with, and there's a close-up there, so you can sort of see the depth of color. I'm really interested to know how long this depth of color will last in the work. So the original marbles in Greece were actually painted as well, but now we see them as white because the pigments have faded away. I also worked with the ashed ergot, and I made some beads which are made from witch's bread, because the link to ergot and the potential of the Salem witches, their behaviours and things like that might have been due to exposure to ergot. Obviously, we've got quite a lot of difficulty in finding out whether that was true or not, but it's been hypothesized. And apparently integral in this story of finding the witches was they used something called witch's bread, which if they fed it to a dog or something like that, it would make the witch reveal herself by sympathetic magic, they said. So the victim's urine was used in it as well. So it's made from rye bread with the ashed ergot and with a trace amount, let's say, of my own urine in this piece to echo this issue of the idea of the witch's bread, which I used in this sculpture, which you can see a detail of, which was very much the design of it was very much inspired by a carving I saw of some sort of grain at the site of the Eleusinian Mysteries. And then I also incorporated it with this this kind of corn dolly type woven grasses and mint, which was also in the drink that they drank at the Eleusinian Mysteries, this specific mint, which I actually had sent over from Greece by a friend. So that's actually incorporated in the sculpture as well. And so that's what the final sculpture there looked like. You can see with the intense carving of the wheat, also painted again with the ash ergot, incorporating the witch's bread, the grasses and the mint. And so it was a fascinating kind of experience working with you on all these things. One of the things that really struck me was this issue of climate change, of how these mycotoxins are becoming more prevalent because of climate change. So it's quite an urgent subject that we need to kind of let the public know about.
Yes, it's true. In fact, with all these drought stress event, as well as the rising of temperature and the rising of CO2 in the air, you have more risk of getting mycotoxin in the food. So there's really a need to sort out this issue. And I'm looking forward to continue some work with you on
yes,
that,
absolutely.
that
I definitely want to do that. And there's one more thing that we haven't quite finished yet that we're still working on is something that one of my collaborators termed Aflatoxin Radio, which I'm going to steal that title for the work. And we're actually we were talking about how peanut farmers in Ethiopia, your team did some research and they found that actually it's female farmers who grow the peanuts, but the training is usually only reaches the male farmers or their partners, and so the training doesn't actually get out. And your team spoke to the female farmers and they said they would like to receive the training by radio. So what we're doing to tell this story in the work is one of these sculptures is going to incorporate an FM radio transmitter, a very narrow transmission area of probably 1 meter, so we can exhibit it in the gallery, but we're going to have it transmitting the kind of training that they would like to receive, which you hope in the future to be able to disseminate in Ethiopia. So we're still working on that bit and hopefully we'll be showing that soon as well.
Yeah, and we had the opportunity to work with our Ethiopian colleagues, making sure you can also share the knowledge in the different dialects so that people that see the artwork can listen to it in the native language that will be disseminated in Ethiopia. It's a wonderful art piece. I'm looking forward to seeing it in shape as well.
I'm very excited about it. As soon as, and it was so wonderful to receive the recordings. They sound amazing. And of course you read one as well, the English one. Excellent. So we're onwards and upwards with the project and we're looking forward to doing very much more. And we hope you'll check back on the website www.annadimitriou.co.uk and keep up to date with the work as it progresses too. Thank you.
Thank you.